If you haven't noticed, you have a really good chance of being in the Hall of Fame if your last name begins with H. Before I introduce Coach Jeff Olson, I'd like to read this from Terry Roberts, Athletic Director at Ishpeming High School. On behalf of Ishpeming High School, I wish to congratulate Coach Jeff Olson on his induction into the Hall of Fame. This is truly a deserving honor for Jeff, as he is not only an excellent and successful football coach, he is also an excellent role model for his players. We are very proud to have him on our staff, and as a member of our community, congratulations, Jeff, and thank you for all you do. Coach Jeff Olson, like the other coaches you have heard about this evening, many schools are very fortunate to have our Hall of Fame coaches end up at their school. Ishpeming is one of those schools, and the reason is Coach Olson. He has been their head coach for the past 24 years. He's won 6 conference championships, has had 4 undefeated regular seasons, and 2 undefeated seasons. A winning streak of 33 consecutive games from 2012 to 2014, the 4th longest winning streak in Michigan high school football. Been to the playoffs 17 years, winning pre-regional, district, and regional championships. 5 years in the state finals, 2010 and 2012 through 15, finishing runner-up twice and winning the state championship for the 3rd time this past fall. He has earned many Coach of the Year honors, including 11 Regional Coach of the Year honors and Division VII State Coach of the Year for the past 4 years. Coach Olson's 3 most humorous incidents in coaching. Excuses for missing practice. Number 1, asked to get out of practice early to take his kid trick-or-treating. Number 2, had to miss weightlifting at night because he had to go to his Lamaze class. And missed the morning practice of the 2-a-days, but came to the afternoon practice, said in the morning he had eaten rat poison. Coach Olson's biggest thrills in coaching. My most emotional win was the state championship game in 2012, when a good but not great team vowed at the beginning of the season to win the state championship for me and my son Daniel, who passed away 2 weeks before the season began. And the most thrilling was this year's state championship, winning it with my youngest son, who told me at Daniel's funeral that he would win one for me when he got to the varsity. Please look on your table, and there's a small little card that says "Do It for Daniel." Please make it a priority to go to doitfordaniel.com and read about this worthwhile and meaningful project. To date, they have raised over $6,700 in the fight against anxiety and depression. Please see what you can do to help. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Hall of Fame, Coach Jeff Olson.
Thank you. You know, one of the best things about being inducted into the Hall of Fame is I can publicly thank all the people that have made a big influence on my life and helped me be successful in coaching. And also, I can show off my family. So right now, I'd like my immediate family to stand up, please. My wife and 3 kids. Thank you. My wife has been my biggest supporter for so many years. You know, she has the same passion I do for coaching football. She agrees with a lot of the things I agree with. Hates the same refs and the same opposing coaches that I hate. No, I'm just kidding on that one. But she's been with me for a long time, and she is my biggest critic also. And, you know, you talk about one of our other inductees talk about catching holy hell. You know, if I make a bad call or do something wrong during a game, I'm going to catch holy hell at home. So, you know, it makes me coach that much harder. You know, and one of the other things that make me coach that hard is because I keep being in the shadow and chasing Coach Terry Hesbrook. You knew I was going to talk about you, didn't you? My first year as a state head coach of the year, I was very proud. 2012, went to the banquet, and all I heard about was Coach Hesbrook getting his third one in a row. Next year, back-to-back state championships, back-to-back coach of the year. Felt pretty good about myself, went to the banquet. Terry was collecting his fourth in a row state championship and coach of the year award. Then, as he said, we had the fourth longest winning streak in the state of Michigan, 33 games since the playoffs started in '75, but it wasn't the longest at that time because Ithaca was on their 69th win that year. But then finally, when I got the call from Jack Carlson, something of my own, an induction into the State Football Hall of Fame, and I kid you not, 2 days later, I get a text from Terry Hesbrook. Congratulations, my friend. I'll see you at the banquet. I want to thank my two daughters, Taylor and Jamie, who each support me and what I do in so many ways. Jamie is always, every game day, she's always talking about the big day, and we hash out a little game plan and her game plan. And my daughter Taylor, who went to her first Ishpeming football game when she was 4 days old, and always meets me on the field after a big game with a big hug. And God bless the people at Ford Field, the security, because when we lost in 2014, she jumped the rail and came out, gave me a big hug, and they grabbed her and hauled her into the tunnel, and we're going to escort her right out of the stadium. So I don't know if she was the first 100-pound terrorist with the could bench press 20 pounds or not, but that's what they thought anyways. And then I want to thank my son Isaac, like Jack said. I give eulogy at my son's funeral how it was his dream for me to win a state championship. When I got back to the pew, he leaned over and he said, "Dad, I'm going to win you a state championship when I get to be a senior." And if you knew Isaac, Isaac wasn't an athlete at that time. Isaac got cut from the basketball team when in fourth grade, he went out for a travel team. They wanted to take 10 kids. 7 kids tried out and they cut down to 6. And that's not a lie. But this kid, since my son died, he started flourishing, started to be a great football player, lifting weights, running. To this year, he was a 2-way starter. And when we needed a big play in the fourth quarter against Guam, Westphalia, on our last drive when we were behind, it was 3rd and 13, and we gave him the ball, and he gained 15 yards. And then when their big runner, biggest one in the state, most yardage, when they got the ball back to try and score after we went ahead, he made one huge tackle on him and led us to a state championship. So, it's all about family, and I really want to thank my immediate family for all they do and the support that they give me. I want to thank my parents. They raised me right. They taught me right and wrong. They taught me how to be the best that I can be. And, I always appreciate that. And they taught me how to do things right all the time. And I've carried that with me throughout my coaching career. I want to thank 2 people that came that are part of our program. My brother Daryl never played football in his life, was a UP champion wrestler. He lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana. 2010 was the first year we made the state championship game with my oldest son. He thought that year that we might have a chance. So he's been my downstate scouter throughout the years since then. He just does it voluntarily. He kind of thought that we might play Hudson that year. He went and filmed them earlier in the year. Sure enough, we made it for the first time. We played Hudson, had an extra film on them. And the last 3 times that we played Detroit Loyola, I've had an extra film or 2 that he's driven up from Fort Wayne, Indiana, to go film, just in case that we made it. And, that's the type of people that we have at Ishpeming. And the next guy I'd like to introduce is my JV coach, George Nemi, who epitomizes what people in the Ishpeming football program are all about. George never played football before. He volunteered a long time ago to help me coach in basketball for free. Did that for many years. We don't have any other coach in our system. We've never had, most we've had is one coach in our system a teacher. And I'm the only one right now, so the pickings aren't out there of quality, experienced coaches. So when I needed one 2 years ago, I picked a guy that works his ass off and all the time in whatever he does. And when I gave him that, I just wanted somebody that would run our stuff, go take our blueprint. He did that, learned, went to work. Once we gave him the job, he went to work and studied and became a film rat. And this year, the second year that he coached, won a conference championships with our junior varsity. I want to thank all my two sisters that are here, some of my biggest supporters. And when I got the letter about being inducted in the Hall of Fame, they said, think about what it means to you to be in the State High School Football Hall of Fame. Well, first of all, to tell you a little story, it means that a lot more people are coming here to watch me receive an award for something that I love to do. The first year when Terry was there, and I think Rob was there, in 2012, I got my first State Coach of the Year award. And when I came into I was coming down by myself. It's a long drive from the Upper Peninsula. I was coming down by myself, and right before I left, my lifelong friend Joe Gray, who's over there, said, I'll come with you, just on a whim. So he came down. When we came into the banquet hall, if you guys remember, it was the last time it was in Kalamazoo. There was 9 huge tables, and each one had a Coach of the Year. Terry Hitchbrook, Division VI Coach of the Year. That was packed with family, assistant coaches. Every coach was packed with family and assistant coaches. And I looked at my table. There was nobody at it. There was 14 salads all around the table, and Joe and I sat down. And I looked at him, and I said, Joe, thank you so much for coming down here with me. Right at that moment, they said, would all the coaches of the State Coaches of the Year come up and sit at the head table? Looked at Joe, I said, sucks to be you, Joe. See you later. And that's a true story. So he's sitting there by himself. Sooner or later, these Fenton coaches, all the Fenton coaches felt sorry for him. They sat there. But anyway, all the coaches are getting up and thanking their family and their wives and their assistant coaches for all they do for them. So not to be outdone, if you remember, I thank Joe as being my right-hand man throughout my whole life and being so instrumental in what we do. I did that really. And from right then, the Fenton coaches started picking his brain on the defense that we used to beat Loyola and what our offense philosophy was. And I think his comment, if I remember right, was, well, we just do a lot of film work and we would break them down and things like that. But that, he's been with me since, lived across the street with me for so many years. I do want to thank my high school coach, that Coach Saylor will know very well, Mike Molesky. He won the state championship in Ishmael in 1975. He coached me at Marquette High School in 1980 and 1981. He was my varsity football coach. He was the one who inspired me to coach football. And he was all about commitment and working, hard work, doing everything you can to be successful at what you want to achieve. Same thing that my parents were big on. And he was talking, and he really stressed discipline. And at that time, that was doing things right all the time. Okay, and I really got inspired by that. And he was one of those coaches that, taught me you don't have to be very complicated, be very simple. We used to be sitting outside running the same play over and over and over and over. And I kind of latched onto that, and that's hence our philosophy today. And when I accepted the football job at Ishmael in 1992, I know one former coach, referee, told our athletic director, he said, tell Jeff he's never going to win at this place, in this conference, with a power, straight-ahead offense the way he runs. And then in the early 2000s, no lie, I had a board member go to the superintendent and wanted him to get me to change our offense because it was too bland, it was too basic. But I've learned a lot throughout my coaching, especially from great coach Buck Nystrom. It's not about systems, it's not what systems you run, it's not what plays you run, it's all about players and coaches. Surround yourself with good coaches, surround yourself with good players, make people that'll work their tails off for you and stick to something and be great at it. And don't get too complicated, and that's really what we've done at Ishmael. And the last thing I want to say is, You know, people always says, how do you do it? How does a town up, you know, from way up in the UP in the woods, and that's what everybody thinks about the UP, it's just all woods and, you know, no flush toilets or anything like that, but how does a team from up in the woods come down and win 3 state championships? And, you know, when you think about it, you know, how does a guy by the name of Jim Bob Cooter end up running an offense for the Detroit Lions? So, you know, it's the same type of thing, but I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for electing me, and I want to thank all the family of all these great coaches here, family of all the coaches, the people that coach, and all you coaches that do what you do and help prepare kids to be successes in life. Thank you.